What if one morning, without warning, the sky lit up with fire, and the world we knew ended in under 30 minutes? What would really happen in a nuclear war? Not in the movies, not in fiction, but here on this Earth in your lifetime. The idea of nuclear war feels like a nightmare we've collectively agreed to ignore. But the weapons are still here. The buttons still exist. And the hands hovering over them are still human. So what would it actually look like? Let's say one warhead is launched. Not dozens. Just one. A city of millions, erased in seconds. The heat incinerates everything at ground zero. The shockwave flattens buildings miles out. The firestorm sucks in all the oxygen, and the fallout begins its slow, silent descent. That alone would be the deadliest event in modern history. But it wouldn't stop there. Retaliation would follow. Other nations would respond. Submarines hidden deep beneath oceans would launch their payloads. Missiles traveling at hypersonic speeds would crisscross the skies. Within hours, hundreds of warheads could detonate. The surface of Earth wouldn't just burn, it would change. Forever. And for those not killed in the first wave, radiation poisoning. Infrastructure collapse, mass panic, no electricity, no clean water, no food distribution, and then the sky darkens. Massive fires send smoke into the upper atmosphere. Sunlight dims. Temperatures drop. This is nuclear winter, a scenario where climate shifts violently in a matter of weeks. Crops fail. Famine spreads. Entire continents spiral into chaos. Not because of warheads, but because of the sky. Now here's the part most don't realize. We don't actually know what happens after that. Not really. Our simulations are just models, educated guesses, because thankfully, we've never gone that far. But the fear? It's justified. And it's not just because of the weapons. It's because of how fragile our systems really are. A single detonation could cripple global banking, destroy undersea internet cables, freeze transportation networks. You might survive the blast, but not the aftermath. Now let's go even darker. Some theorists suggest that we've already come close to nuclear war and just never found out. In 1962, a Soviet submarine nearly launched a nuclear torpedo after misinterpreting U.S. exercises. It was stopped by one officer who refused to authorize the strike. Had he agreed, World War III might have started in the ocean. Other stories suggest hidden bunkers, shadow governments, continuity of government protocols where select elites vanish underground while the rest of the population is left to fend for itself. Is that paranoia? Maybe. But if the end came, who would tell you the truth? What would media say if there were no media left? And then there's the psychological aftermath. Survivors might envy the dead. PTSD, radiation deformities, a generation born in the shadow of war. No internet, no medicine, no modern comfort, only survival. And if humanity pulled through, what would it become? Would we rebuild? Would we learn? Or would we repeat the same path, just slower? Now here's the twist. Nuclear war doesn't require global conflict. It could start from a miscalculation, a rogue actor, a false alarm. In fact, it almost has, several times. And every year that goes by, the odds of human error only increase. So what would really happen in a nuclear war? The world wouldn't end in one big explosion. It would unravel minute by minute, hour by hour, into something we might not recognize. And the scariest part? We built the tools ourselves. So maybe the real question isn't what would happen in a nuclear war. It's why we ever let it get this far. If this made you pause, if you believe in questioning what others ignore, subscribe, because silence is dangerous, and the countdown doesn't make a sound. And what about the planet itself? Even if we survive, nature won't go untouched. Oceans poisoned, wildlife mutated, the ozone layer shredded by high-altitude blasts. The Earth could take centuries or longer to recover. And humans? We may never be the same. There's also the risk of something worse than war, silence. A world too broken to communicate. No satellites, no internet, just pockets of survivors in darkness, unsure if anyone else is even alive. They'd rebuild stories from ruins, myths from memories. And one question would echo across generations. Why did they do it? Because that's the hardest truth to accept. That the destruction wouldn't come from aliens or asteroids or acts of God. It would come from us. And what's more terrifying than that? The monsters in this story aren't imaginary. They wear suits. They hold press conferences. They go home to families. And they have the codes. So if we're ever going to prevent this, if we want to make sure nuclear war stays a theory, not a reality, it starts with awareness, with asking the question, and never forgetting the answer.